Today on the Dryad's Library, we're going to be looking at Our Native Trees by Harriet L. Keeler, another vintage book that you can find in thrift stores, and you can find a free PDF online from this book. This book was originally published in 1900, and this copy I have is a re-release pressing from 1912. Now, this book is a field guide, so it covers native trees from, I believe, Maine and the East Coast, but it has crossover in parts of the central and eastern United States as well for some of the trees and other shrub species that you'll find in the area. Just like other vintage books, I was able to get this at a thrift store secondhand for $2, but it has a wide range of different price points that you can find to get a physical copy, but there is a free PDF online that you can get as well. Keeler organizes this book by family, so you can go to the front of the book and then pick out which family by the common or botanical name and find which tree you're looking for. Not only does she give a description of the plants and what they look like physically, she also gives commercial uses for plants at the time of the trees that are covered in the book, as well as folklore and some quotes from newspapers and other things at the time, which is very cool if you're looking for some historical context behind some of the anecdotal things that we talk about when it comes to foraging or botany or things related to plants as well. I believe she's written 4 books, 3 of which I have not read myself, but I'll put on the screen as well for those who are interested in other books written by her. I found that a lot of the things that she mentions have been good starting off points to research further and to find other sources related to folklore or things that people have said passed down from ear to ear about some things that you have to do or eat a certain way or prepare a certain way with some of these plants. A common example that I see anecdotally thrown around is that with persimmons in the Diospyros genus in the Ebinaceae family, which is referenced in this book. If you were to find this book on a PDF, it's on page 197 where you can find, where she references that you have to have persimmons only after the first frost, and they are much more desirable after having them set after that frost, which is still thrown around by foragers today. Though I'd argue that once the persimmons fall from the tree like they would an apple or a pawpaw, that they are equally as ripe as if you were to eat them if you were to gather them after the first frost. She quotes, "For its bitter astringency is something that can be known only by experience. The frost is required to make it edible, but having been subjected to this influence, it becomes sweet, juicy, and delicious." For context, she also mentions imported persimmons from Japan and Asia that were done at that time. So it gives you an idea that they were still importing persimmons around the early part of the century. Unbiased. In her writing, she often interjects a lot of her personal anecdotal experiences, and she'll say that things are either gross, nasty, or taste really good, and those are imparting her own opinion. If there were to be any critique, maybe that's the only thing in reference to the book by personal experience. But apart from that, everything else in the book is really helpful. I've been able to find some really cool facts and leads in this book and the references. I highly recommend this book. I think there's so much folklore and different anecdotal bits and things that I don't really find anywhere else, or in some of the newer field guides and things you'll find today, it's often omitted because people don't think it's relevant. But for some of those things that may be more interesting, or if you want to find some cool historical different facts and things related to plants, then I highly recommend Harriet Keeler's Our Native Trees. I would give this book no review. I'm not going to give a number to the book, but if those are out there and interested, I highly recommend checking out this book for yourself because you may find something that may interest you or may benefit you on your learning process.